Alright, Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. This is Awariala, and this is my channel, Rise Up Israel. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahweh, who the world may call God. And I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world will call Jesus Christ, but whose real name is Yahweh Shai in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. So, it's just a quick video, finishing up our two-part series on reincarnation. I know last time we kind of talked about man being the circuit, man being on the circuit and coming on the earth and leaving the earth. And we're going to continue going into that. I left off really going into John 9:1, where we spoke on the man that was blind from his birth, and the disciples asking Christ if the man sinned that he be born blind, right? Which would have to be hinting towards the fact that in order for a man to be born blind, that he'd had to live before, right? In regards to him being sinning, right? Because we understand that sinning is a transgression of God's laws, right? And that can only be done in the flesh, right? You transgress the laws of God in the flesh. You don't transgress the laws of God at any point outside the flesh, right? So let's read real quick. John 9:1, and it says, "And Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" So did this man sin or did his parents sin? We understand that your fathers can sin. It can cause you to have some type of punishment. And we understand that you could sin in a prior lifetime to show that, to be there and kind of and show an example that you can also be born with a deficit, right? Now, real quick, that right there is a prime example, but we also have other examples of men being born or being reincarnated back into the earth, right? For instance, Lakia, we have the prophecy pertaining to Elijah, right, in the book of Malachi chapter 4 and verse 5, and it says this: "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with the curse," right? So we see that Elijah will come before the coming of the Lord, right? We see it we see it also in Malachi 3, where it talks about the messenger of the covenant, coming, right? And it says, Salakia. Watch this. Malachi 3:1, it says, "Behold, I will send also my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple." Who's this messenger that is going to come and prepare the way for the Lord? And after that, the Lord whom ye seek. Who's the Lord that we see? Who's the Lord that we all seek? The Messiah, right? Shall suddenly come to his temple. So it'll be around the time that the Messiah comes to his temple that a messenger will come on the earth, right? Even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in, right? This is a separate messenger. Two messengers. First messenger is John the Baptist, Elijah. The second messenger is who the world will call Christ, right? "Whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith the Lord." Right? Then it goes on talking about who the world will call Christ. But first, we talk about the messenger, which is John the Revelator, to prepare the way before the Lord, right? But as we get back into here, we see Malachi 4:5 saying that Elijah is going to come before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, right? Now we see in Matthew chapter 11 and verse 13, it says, we'll start at verse 12, and it says this. Matthew 11:12, and it says this: "And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesy until John. And if ye will receive it, this is Elias which was for to come. So Christ said that if you receive it, this is Elijah. Not saying that he's in the spirit of Elijah. No, it's saying that he is Elijah, which was for to come. Right? So we see that John the Baptist literally was Elijah. When John the Baptist walked the earth, he was literally the reincarnation of Elijah on the earth, right? Here's what's so funny about this, right? Because we see that John, when the Pharisees asked John who he was, he said he wasn't him. You see what I'm saying? He said he wasn't Elijah. So I can bear with me. Watch this. This is John chapter 1 and verse 19. And this ties right into what we talked about in the previous video. And it says this. And this is the record of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, who art thou? And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not the Christ. John revealed, I'm not the Christ, right? And they asked him, what then? Art thou Elias? Why would they ask him if he was Elijah? Because they knew before the coming of the Lord and upon the coming of the Messiah that Elijah will come, right? And he saith, I am not. Art thou that prophet? And he's answered, no, right? So why would he call himself Elijah? Why would he say he's not Elijah if Christ said he was Elijah? Because simple biblical principles that we've talked about previously in the scriptures. What do we see? Ecclesiastes chapter 2 and verse 16, where it says, for there's no remembrance of the wise nor Salakia. There's no remembrance. I think it's, we can just go right here. Salakia. Verse 11. This is Ecclesiastes 1 and 11. It says, there's no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. So what is that saying? There's no remembrance of the former things, meaning we're not going to remember the life that we lived before, right? So John, when he's telling the Pharisees or the Jews that questioned him, when he's telling them that he's not Elijah, it's because he doesn't remember. But it doesn't mean that he's actually not Elijah, because Christ said he was Elijah. So this right here is one prime example that is another prime example that reincarnation, according to the scriptural, the biblical doctrine, is an actual thing, right? Let's keep going. We can also go to Matthew chapter 16, which I did go to earlier on. Salakia. Matthew chapter 16 and 13, where Christ asked the disciples who did they think he was. And it says this, when Jesus came unto the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? So Christ asked them, who do they say I am? What does that even, what could that possibly mean if Christ nor the disciples, nor all of the Jews understood reincarnation, right? And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, right? Which, if you look, Herod thought, and I have to grab the scripture, but Herod thought that John the Baptist had rose from the dead. Seriously, he literally thought that that John the Baptist was risen from the dead, which obviously he wasn't, because he was actually dead. So we see that Salakia. But yeah, he thought that matter of fact, I can grab this real quick. He thought that Christ was John the Baptist, which was risen from the dead, right? So this is not some resurrection stuff right now, but this is what Herod thought, right? And this is Mark 6 and 14. It says, and King Herod heard of him, for his name was spread abroad, talking about the Messiah, and he said that John the Baptist was risen from the dead, therefore mighty works do shew forth themselves in him. Others said that is Elijah, and others said that is a prophet or one of the prophets, right? So that even proves it too, because people thought that Christ was prophets that had clearly come and gone on the earth, right? Herod just thought that for his ego's sake. He was like, man, maybe he's coming back, to haunt me or something. You know what I'm saying? So when Christ asked the question, who do they say I am? Some people thought that he was John the Baptist risen from the dead. Some said Elijah. Others said Jeremiah or one of the prophets. So because of the spirit that Christ had on him, people thought that he was one of those prophets, right? So this goes to show that Israel understood the idea, the concept of being reincarnated, right? I mean, in all reality, what purpose would it mean? What purpose would it be that a man have to raise up seed of his neighbor? What's the purpose? What is the purpose of not of raising up your seed of your brother, right? Of course, so your son, so the son can have an inheritance, but through process of time, that is going to go back to that man. That generation is going to regenerate that man back on earth, and he's going to be able to live out his inheritance that God made for him, right? But let's keep going. So we understand that reincarnation is a thing according to the scriptures. Let's grab a few more in regards to that. We have another one real quick. It's like Revelation chapter 10. Oh, what the hell? Salakia, I gotta you're gonna bear with me with this one, because this thing right here. But what do we see? We see, and I took the little book. This is Revelation 11 and 10, and it says, and I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey, and as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. This is what the angel said. And he said unto me, thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings, right? So what's so important about that, right? What is so important about the angel telling John the Revelator that he would prophesy to many nations, kings and people, right? Let me see. Because John the Revelator, in many people's understanding, was said to have died in the on the island of Patmos, right? Salakia, I might not even be able to find it. Bear with me. Okay, John of Patmos received the vision of the Lord of the New Testament where the book was written. See, I'm not entirely sure if let me see. Book of Revelations, John throws some Christians in and separated. Okay. Alright, so I can't find where it said that he died there, but many people talk about how John the Revelator died in Salakia. How John the Revelator died on the island of Patmos. Doesn't say it here, but in many other cases, it literally says that John the Revelator died in the island of Patmos, right? That's what most historians will say, which goes to show that John would come back on earth and live out his same destiny as being a prophet, right? I'm going to cut this video short. And we'll just do part 3, which will be going more so into what it's like when man gets to that spiritual realm. But again, Lord willing, this edifying video through the Spirit. I like to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, and the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. I like to bid everyone a strong shalom. Kwam Yasharallah, shalom.